Welcome back to another episode of Beekeeping Buddies. I'm Steven.
And I'm Luke.
We've had some really abnormally seasonally warm weather the last couple days.
Beautiful outdoor hiking, camping, lovely to be outside weather.
Early winter, late fall weather, and then we got a call for an emergency cutout to do in a church 50 feet up. And that was... Stay tuned for later in the episode when we talk about that.
Yeah, no kidding. That was exciting.
The other thing I want to put at the front of the show here is a mention that we will have nukes for sale again in 2026. If you bought from us last year or this year in 2025, we appreciate you buying. I hope you enjoyed your bees this year and they worked out well for you. I know several people that we worked with this year. Some had great successes. Others struggled with how quickly they built. They were not expecting them to build as quickly as they did. I think they were more used to having a package, and the nukes that we get do not perform like packages. They are much more aggressive in building. So,
yeah, you got to be right on top of them, giving them space. They swarmed. I know a couple people that they swarmed on.
Yep.
One of them swarmed on me.
Yep.
And I thought I was on top of it. So you really have to be a little bit more ahead of it. It's a colony that is ready to go.
It really spoke to the veracity and the quality of the nukes that we got from our provider. So I'm really happy with that. We'll be using the same supplier for 2026. If you're in the central Illinois area, certainly look those up on the Riverview Road apiary where they'll be available for sale.
Yep, they're right on the front page. About maybe just a little bit scroll down. There's a picture of an actual nuke from last year with bees in it to give you an idea of how strong
representative of what you'll get.
Same price as last year as well. We don't plan on hiking those prices.
The other show notes we haven't done in the past, but we're a little bit more organized this episode in the sense that we have a plan that our last two will have two more episodes for 2025. We'll have a gift game.
We'll actually have three because there's one that I have unedited that
that's
hasn't
true.
been released.
That's
right?
true.
So we'll release one more. We'll probably be a double release this week, and then we'll do a release next week on trophy mites.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to these other two.
And then for December, we'll have a holiday gift buying guide in the first part of December. And then at the very end of the year, we're going to have a year-end wrap-up of how our year in beekeeping went and maybe some tidbits from data mining of the podcast.
See what you guys were happy to listen to and things we may do next year as well.
So if you're excited about listening to those, certainly tune in the next couple of weeks for the rest of the episodes for 2025. As for the rest of it, let's on with the show. Around the yard, I got to bring back the cutout bees that we did, and I went to add them to a small nuke that was still hanging around in a pro nuke at this point.
Well, we guesstimated. I didn't know how many were in that cutout. So how full was that bucket?
It was full.
Oh, it's all the way full.
Okay. I mean, it was when I'll just give you the story. So the plan, I got 6 frame Finland styrofoam nukes.
Yep.
I have 2 of those, so you can stack them 6 over 6. The plan was to overwinter those in the 6 frame styrofoam, and then with all the extra bees, I'm like, well, I'll just do 6 over 6, and I'll figure out something else to go with the other box I have. So I went to pop the lid on my Pro Nuke, and there was only 3 frames in it, because that may have been
Pro Nukes
several months.
They also aren't great to grow in.
No,
the hive's just not going to grow. They don't do much. They kind of limp along.
And the frames weren't all neat and organized, so they may have put a half a row of comb in there.
Well, they organized it for you.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? You've been living in this all summer. You're just going to be living in it again in a different enclosure. So I picked all 3 frames up as a group and just plopped them down in the thing. And I figured I was going from 5 to 6, and then I had some frames of honey from a different box still hanging around.
Just left over from extraction. The inside?
It's a long story. They exist.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I'll put those 3 on top. That'll give them some feed because there was basically nothing salvageable from the cutout.
Yeah, and it was all old comb.
Yeah.
Dark, crunchy, old comb.
Yeah. And so basically I just got a bunch of population. And so I'm like, well, I need to give them something. And so I start counting frames. And now I've got 6 usable frames out of the 12 I need. So, like, where am I going to find 6 more drawn frames at this time of year? Which is it's kind of a hard ask in my yard. And
it's a hard ask in my yard this time of year too. I've gone through and culled frames by now. I don't have a lot to pull from.
You don't have stuff that you've culled and combined, so you've got leftover equipment. And
once I cull it, if it's not usable, if it's not worth using, then
my problem is gone. Like if we've had wax moth move in late summer and fall, so a lot of stuff. In September, late August and September, the wax moth got at it, and
then it's
I'm not willing to put that on a hive that I'm going to give a coin flip for getting through winter. So I turn around, and I hear some buzzing. And I look over, and the hive on the end of the stand, which is a styrofoam hive, has been knocked over. And we recently changed the location where the goats are, where the goats have had access to the beehives. So I have a feeling that somebody tried to squeeze through the edge of the solar panels, the ground mount solar panels, and the hives that sit just adjacent to the solar panels, and maybe didn't quite squeeze through there in their pregnant status that they are right now, and kind of their wide load caught the edge of the hive and proceeded to knock it over. And I'm like, oh, that's not right. I'm like, how long has that been there? So before I started the 6/6 project, I'm like, I'll stand this up so I don't have a cloud. I'm not working in a cloud of bees. And, there was a lot of activity there. So I stand all that up. And as I'm standing that up, I note that the bottom deep on that is basically empty. They haven't done anything with it. And so the box above, the deep above that is very, very heavy. It is.
Just out of curiosity, was that deep sitting on, you have all screen bottom boards, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will always wonder. I find a lot in my screen bottom boards that they move away
from the screens.
From the screens during winter.
That's an interesting note. I might have to make some observable notes about that. So the box above that is like noticeably heavy, 50 pounds plus.
Yeah.
And so it's significantly capped deep honey, and then there's a super on top of that still that I never got around to dealing with. I was just going to leave it on for winter.
At this point, you should.
Yeah, and it's probably half full. So I stack all that back up, and then I turn around. I'm dealing with the 6/6, and I'm like, I need frames. I'm like, that box over there that I just stood back up does not have anything in the bottom. So I tore it all back down and robbed the frames out of it. And they were surprisingly dark. I guess I haven't been in the bottom of that hive for probably at least 2 years.
Well, it also doesn't take long for multiple rounds to be raised in those.
Yeah.
And so the more bees that are raised in there, that's how you get that dark, crunchy hive. Because the cocoons from the bees hatching, right? Because they do cocoon themselves up, and it goes and pushes out the wax, and it becomes that dark, crunchy comb. If you have any, you should grab some when you're replacing those hives, and you can actually pull them apart and see the cocoons. You can pull the cocoons out. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be shocked if it spent 2 years doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe a year and a half. Maybe it was last year's.
I don't know that I've been in. I don't know that I've changed the bottom frames in that box in probably 3+ years. Yeah, I've certainly been in them.
That's not what we suggest.
But my point is, like, I had no reason to pull those frames out and move them anywhere. They always were in the hive, and they were doing hive things in there. So they just kind of sort of.
It'd be interesting to get that sent in for like pesticide, because you're in cornfields, and almost all cornfield.
Row crops, right? Like this year it was corn, last year it was beans.
Okay, it'd be interesting to get that sent in and analyzed, just to see what's
on it,
what's on there.
Either way, we pulled some frames out of there, we stacked it in there, and then there was a portion of honey that we did, capped honey that did come out of the church cutout, and I reserved basically like a middle frame space, and I stacked several chunks of the honey, because it's super, like, it's hard to if people are used to dealing with, we deal a lot with the new beginners, and new beginners, all the wax is brand new. It's white. It's soft.
It squishes,
it's floppy.
It squishes underneath your hand when you when you touch it. It squishes.
Like it's really, you can't hold it. You can't handle it. It's so fragile and soft. And this is the exact opposite. This stuff, man, you could swing it around. Like I could reach in and grab it and pull on it, and there's a significant amount of force required to rip the comb out of its attachment points, and it tears and rips like cardboard. Like it's surprisingly stiff. And so it's pretty easy to manipulate at this point. And so I've got 2 frames on the outside. I left. I put 3 frames in, so I got 3 frames in space in the middle. And that's when I dumped the bucket of bees in on top. And it basically filled that entire cavity with bees.
Oh.
So, 6 pounds of bees, maybe a double 3-pound package, probably.
Every once in a while when we do cutouts, because we do quite a few in a year. Every once in a while, when you pick up the bucket, you can tell. You can be like, "Oh, this is a full bucket." The one that we did at the end of summer, that we probably vacuumed up another hive's worth of flyers.
Yeah,
that was when you picked it up. It was, "Oh, this is a significant amount of bees."
Yeah.
This one, when I picked it up, it was. Maybe it's been a while since I'd picked up the bucket because we haven't done a cutout in a while.
Yeah.
Because we don't do cutouts this time of year. It's too cold, right?
This doesn't
usually.
It's not good for the survivability of what we're cutting out is like really low.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is going to be a coin flip for this one. I'd say 50-50.
It's the kind of thing where if you had a hive that was low on population and you had some resources, you could boost the population with the cutout in hopes that it boosts the chances of survivability for the winter. But there's no way you can put them just in a box with nothing and expect them to make it through winter.
They're not going to be. They have not been drawing wax since August, I'd say. Yeah. August, September timeframe. Like if they do, it's very little. So they can't. They're not going to build a home. They're not going to store stuff. That kind of stuff.
So it was a pretty good quality of bees, and then I went to go add that last frame in there, and it took some jiggling and wiggling and sort of to try to get them to move out of the way as you're trying to get the frame into this mass of bees.
Which is also, you got propolis in the frames, and this time of year the propolis is sticky like hardtack. It's a cement almost. If below 50, you put it in.
It was yesterday afternoon. It was 65 by then. It was probably 3:30 in the afternoon.
Below 50, I have broken hive tools, bent hive tools, snapped.
It gets the adhesive qualities of it is surprising.
Yeah,
especially when you're talking about the surface area that exists inside a hive with all of the various contact points that the frames have.
But let's talk about that cutout a little bit. So it was in a Catholic church, right? Let's paint the picture.
You paint the picture. So this is the front of the church. Front doors of the church, and this is a structure that was built in 1890 something, per the sign that was out front.
Yeah.
So this is the classic stone Gothic Catholic church, right? So you've got pillars on the outside corners with the St. Petersburg onion domes.
Yeah.
Onion domes
on each side.
On the minor. What am I trying to say? The
I don't remember what they're called. The minor towers.
Minor towers, and then there's a center, larger buttress that extends all the way up. That has the bell tower and the steep. It's the classic steeple. And
it's all in copper.
Yeah, instead of the long pointy steeple, it was the even larger onion dome. And the reason why we were called to do this was the church had contracted a roofing contractor to come and replace all. It's a slate roof, and there was copper flashing between the slate roof and the stone/masonry brick, and they were having that roofing contractor replace all the copper guttering, and then all the copper on the onion domes.
Yeah.
And so there was an architectural detail about 3/4 of the way up the front of the building that created a little bump out, a little eyebrow bump out roof that was only about 3 feet wide. And it was an architectural detail to break up the 60-foot front of mass stonework. And that little architectural detail consisted of a little, like I said, about 3 foot deep roof. And with that, there was 18 inches of soffit, and it was 2x6 in height. And so that soffit, the interesting note about the church was that it did not have wooden trim work
anywhere.
All of the trim work.
No, standing from the ground,
yeah,
I couldn't tell that.
Yes.
But Steve's done enough construction that
well,
I wonder if that's going to be
all metal. Dad was the pastor, so I grew up doing maintenance in an old church that was very much like this. And so all of the trim work on the exterior of the building, including all of the trim work for this detail, including the roof, was all metal. And not just like sheet metal like modern tin. This was like thick, rolled, like, 22 gauge or something, 20 gauge steel.
Yeah.
So the not having to do like wood maintenance, rot maintenance kind of things every 10 years or 15 years on the church, we solved that by having metal painted from the ground. It looks like wood. Well, the roof had leaked, and that allowed water to leak into this architectural detail, and it was starting to rust out the soffit. And that's what opened up a hole for the bees to get into. They moved in there. And being 45 feet up, it doesn't bother anybody at the ground. And they would have still been there, except for the guys that went to replace the roof with a new copper roof. And they went to replace the roof, and the bees lit the roofers up. And they're like, they won't let us near this. So you got to come deal with these bees. And so I cut out metal soffit, and that was riveted in place with old-fashioned rivets, not pop rivets, but like old hammer-in rivets. And what was underneath, there was this sort of a floor to the hive that was anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch thick of sort of melted wax and hive detritus.
Which is strange, because on that side,
it's north.
It's a north-facing side, so you shouldn't get sun.
Yeah, but it still gets hot.
Yeah.
But
enough to melt the hive. Maybe if it was a banded portion of the comb that they're not taking care of.
Yeah, I mean, the ventilation-wise, there's not a lot, because other than the rusty portion up against the
but it was clear. It was
left
clear.
edge.
It was clear that it had melted. Like you brought down the metal. I was like, oh, this has got wax. Sealed wax on the inside.
Because you look at anytime you do a cutout, you can look at video or Randy's videos on YouTube. Probably 99 out of 100 times, it's just as orderly as a hive in our backyard. The frames are neatly spaced. There's a reason why Langstroth figured out what bee spacing was, right? They all maintain that 1/4 to 3/8. They all draw comb in rows. They're mostly straight. Sometimes they'll get a little curvy, but then the curves follow each other, right? And so it's an orderly, neat layout of combs for them to do their bee thing on. And at the very front, there was probably a foot of just chaos. And that was just a function of the old comb that broke off or melted, didn't support itself. Maybe the hive died out, and through neglect of not being maintained by an active hive, it collapsed, or a wax moth, other pests and stuff get in there, and then maybe another swarm moves in. There was a section of comb that I ended up cutting out that you could tell had been previous dead out, and they had chewed down to the center of the comb, and you could still see the bee butts in the cells.
Interesting. So it was a dead out probably from a winter.
And
where they
moved in,
yeah.
and so clearly that hive location had been there for, I'm going to guess, 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of hacking.
The father there, I talked to him for a while, and he said, "Oh yeah, we find pretty routinely we find dead bees out in the front of the church, which makes sense, right? The bees are grabbing morticians, right? Are carrying out other dead bees and dropping them there. So yeah, they talk about that quite a bit.
Access, luckily enough, the roofers already had an 85-foot lift on site. That is a significant piece of equipment. That's a piece of equipment that has to arrive on a gooseneck semi. It's like 60,000 pounds of equipment. The challenge with a lift that size is you can't get it close to what you're trying to work on because the boom on it is like a 45-foot boom by itself.
Yeah, not extended.
Not extended. The tightest it gets is the basket is like 30 feet away from the center of the machine.
And it tosses you when you turn. Steve got up there and started driving it, and it about tossed him across the basket. And I thought, this is going to be...
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And so you get it parked reasonably close to the church. First we were in the street. The street's tapered for runoff, and then the machine's leaning, and then the machine doesn't want to let you be where you want to be because it's not level. So we repositioned. Eventually what you figure out is you need to be almost vertical with the basket to get the basket far enough away from the church so you can rotate it and then bring it back down to avoid those bump outs, the parapet bump outs of both edges where this sunk in portion of the church was, where the windows and this, where we got to do the cutout. When you're standing up there doing the cutout, the building doesn't move. So your frame of reference is solid. You're working over your head. It just turns into a regular cutout like you've been doing in the living room. You don't realize the rest of the world melts away. The ceiling is just right above you. You kind of lose reference that you're 45 feet up in the air. It is until you turn around and you go reach for the bee vac that's at the other end of the 7-foot man lift basket. And now half your field of view is this vast expanse
falling away
of neighborhood below you and the building to your left, and you go reach for the bee vac and the whole basket sways like 2 feet, and all of a sudden you're like, oh boy. But you still got the building there. It's what you're working on the building, right? I'm within the basket's within inches of the building, and everything feels solid then. It's when you go swing away from the building and you're maneuvering where I'm above the street with the thing still like 45 feet in the air. Yeah. And that's when it starts to get real unnerving.
So I thought it was interesting. Steve did all the cutout this time. All of the cutout. I just sat on the ground hoping that he didn't fall off.
It's probably a 5-minute ride between the ground and where you need to be, and it's a lot of maneuvering, a lot of left, a lot of right, a lot of left,
and then
tweak and up and tweak and up and tweak and up. Yeah. So it's not like you just spin around and you're done. And it's careful maneuvering because you don't want to slam into the building. So the whole I forgot something and I need to go down and get it, that doesn't happen.
Well, we still did our basket thing where we tie together rope over usually. Yeah, and you tie something up and bring it up.
Your ground guy can send something up to you.
So the smoker we sent up, I used burlap this time and actually worked a burlap stacked with wood chips.
Well, they were spicy. I cut the initial piece of tin open, and Luke was like, "You better suit up," and because normally I kind of gauge how much I'm going to have to suit up based on how much I get bumped as I'm standing in front of the entrance. And I was getting some attention. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to suit up. So I suit up, and I got my nitrile gloves on, and my bee suit sleeves, the elastic in my sleeves are worn out, which is normally not a problem. But now I'm working overhead, and from the bee perspective, there's this like super highway of space right down my wrist and up to my forearm, which, if you're working bending down, it's sort of an upward trajectory, not a downward trajectory, and it doesn't seem to be nearly the problem. But I tell you what, man, they like within the first 2 minutes, I had like 2 bees up in my wrist, and like I got 2 more hours of cutout to go. And so like I can't have. That's the same problem, right? You get stung. The alarm pheromone, man, it smelled like bananas up there. Yep. Holy cow, it smelled like bananas up there.
Yeah, I was getting bumped when I was 50 feet down on the ground.
Yeah.
So I thought, So at that point, I went and lit the smoker. And I was like, hey, you want the smoker?
and we generally don't have to use the smoker because after you get the initial opening open and you kind of suck up the initial guards, everybody kind of calms down. They've got a lot to deal with honey that starts to run.
It's not that they don't watch you, though. They still watch you.
Yeah.
It's just you're not getting stung anymore. It's the spacing between the glove. For me, it's the spacing between the nitrile glove and where your jacket is.
Yeah.
It's like a little, maybe an inch space there.
Yep.
That I will get 90% of my stings on.
Yes.
Is that where that even where it's not,
and
there's no hair.
We're setting up and he's like, hey, you want the duct tape? And I'm like, I don't ever need duct tape. I'm like, I don't know. And so then like the first thing I ask for, I'm like, Luke, can you send the duct tape up, please?
and the Gorilla Glue duct tape.
Gorilla duct tape is super awesome.
Real good. So
however,
they don't pay us, but it's real good.
However, if you've ever tried to peel Gorilla tape off of the roll with
nitrile
gloves on, yeah, but that dog don't hunt.
Yeah, that glove's coming with it.
So that's the problem. Like, not only is there no fingernail to get the thing started, so then I got to whip out the pocket knife and use the pocket knife to pick the edge of the tape up.
Yeah.
All right, I got that done. I grab a hold of the edge of the tape and I pull off a 2-foot strip of tape, and then I go to like let go of it, and it's stuck to the end of my fingertip like glue. Like you go to pull it off, and like the whole finger of my glove is coming with it. I'm like, snap. I'm like, okay, well, that didn't break my glove. That's nice.
Yeah. And
then I go to tear it, and again, you don't realize like apparently there's a fingernail edge or something you use when you tear. And when you got the nitrile gloves on it, I'm like, back to the pocket knife.
Yep.
So I finally get a strip cut off, wrap it around the wrist, and like you said, man, oh boy, does it stick to those gloves.
Yeah.
And like 1/4 inch overlap onto the glove and the rest onto the fabric, and boy, she seals up tight, and it's
worth having if you have issues getting stung, or if you're going to be in a really hot hive.
Really, yeah, or you're going to be working for a long time,
yeah.
And you're not going to change your setup, because if you're going to be swapping glove, if you're going to throw the coat on for a 5-minute, 10-minute inspection, and then you're going to take it back off, you're going to get in the car and go someplace else.
Yeah,
it's a lot of setup and tear down for all that. But like up there, I got 2 hours of vacuuming and cutting out comb. Like it was well worth the effort to go through the whole rigmarole for that.
Yeah, and it was interesting. You get the people stopping, driving by, getting the looks. We had a lot of interesting looks. It's a different part of town, so very eclectic music selections going by.
I was very surprised at some of the bass bumping that drove by was unsurprising, but then some of the other choices that drove by were quite eclectic. Some real classic country stuff.
Yeah, some Spanish.
Yeah,
Mexican, Spanish. I forgot what those are called, but that was pretty neat. Somebody stopped by and talked to me a little bit about the bees and said we were doing a good job. That was a weird conversation to have. Is all in Spanish. So I've been practicing my Spanish, so that was nice to apply for my use of abejas.
So I have a 5-gallon bucket full of waxed honey comb that had honey in it. Which was pretty heavy, 40 pounds.
Wax is going to be real,
but it's not going to get melted down.
That is a loose interpretation of what that is.
Comb.
There's not much wax left when they use it that much.
And then the roofer was like, "Oh, hey, I want a photo of the hive," and he was taking a photo of the honey bucket. And I'm like, "Oh, bud, that's like a third of what I pulled out." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "There's a black garbage bag of 90% of the hive. Like, we can't save any of this."
Yeah.
Like, it's unusable. We don't want it in our hive because it's so old. You can't really do anything with it, and it's the wrong time of year to try to build hives with it. So even if it was nice material, I still wouldn't be saving it. So we, over half of the material went right into a trash bag I had taped to the side of the man basket.
Yeah, and I had already tossed it by the time he showed up.
Yeah, and so...
But I was also surprised talking to him. We were not the first person that he called. He called like 6 or 7 other beekeepers that all told him no.
Really?
Wow.
I didn't underestimate. Like, I've spent a lot of time. My first job. We talked about a little in the past on the podcast about the first job I had when I turned 16. First paying job I had was framing custom homes, and there was no, like, you're here to frame a house, get up there on the roof. It's time to climb rafters and sling plywood, right? Like, you're not a small dude. I was a big guy back then still. And, like, you can swing a sheet of plywood, get up there on the rafters, right? Like, there was no, and so being on scaffold, being up heights, 30, 40 feet off the ground, like, I grew up doing it. Hiking, parents love to go hiking in the mountains, so get up to the peak and stand at the edge of the mountain and look down on the side, you're way the hell up, like, no big deal, right? So, but to get in the man basket and have the thing swaying around, like, there's a real death grip on the handle of
the swing around is the thing for me. The being in the basket, I feel way safer than ever being up on a roof or any of that stuff. But the movement on the basket was from the ground was pretty interesting. I was happy that I was on the ground and not up there. And I was in my head, I was going over scenarios. I'm like, okay, so 911 if Steve falls out of this thing, if this thing snaps and Steve falls,
so like
that stuff.
I mean, at what point do you go, well, did you have your fall arrest harness on? And I'm like, I know you're supposed to have a harness on when you're in one of these things, but here's the thing: when we first set it up, we were in the street. The machine, it was flat-ish. It wasn't at a significant tilt.
No.
But I got all the way up in the air, and then it wouldn't lower me down.
Yeah.
And
presumably lower you down to the height of the, because you had to move up and over to get to the soffit. So it wouldn't lower him down to the soffit. And he was very frustrated up there, and you could tell his body language was very frustrated.
And again, I'm a mechanical engineer, right? Like, the mechanics of what this lift is, and I'm like, this is a new enough lift. It was a rental lift, so they're maintained. This isn't an old, crappy piece of equipment. This is a relatively new piece of equipment. It's got all the modern safety features on it. And I'm like, there is a blinking light on it, but it's all in hieroglyphics. There's no writing on it because we don't want to have anybody to translate anything. So if you don't speak English, we don't want you to not understand because you couldn't read.
You can't read, yeah.
Right? So so you're looking on the panel like, where's the start button? Like, if you don't understand what the icon is to start the engine, it takes 2 grown guys 5 minutes of staring at the panel to figure out that this little green looking weird symbol is the engine crank symbol. And so you get up there and there's a blinking light, and from the hieroglyphics that are mostly painted over with overspray of painting, I kind of can draw a conclusion that it doesn't want to let me down, because if I let you down, you get farther away from the base, and you're too out of level to be that far out. And they're smart enough to do that.
Yeah, they have the auto-sense sensors.
Yeah, they're like, well, based on what I can sense for how much weight's in the basket, and they sense that based on the pressures and the hydraulics, I won't let that much weight be that far out with how far out of level I am. And so I'm like, well, engineering troubleshooting 101, if it worked, go back to the last known working condition. So here I am going back to spinning back around to the position I was in when I got up in the air, and eventually I get the thing to respond and lower me down.
Yeah. And
because there's a point at which, like, when we're doing our normal cutouts, we're working off of ladders, maybe we're working off a scaffold.
Scaffold.
But any of those times, if something goes wrong, I can throw an extension ladder, I can climb onto the extension ladder, I can be off this thing in 20 seconds. And when you're 45 feet up in the air, there ain't no extension ladder that's going to come save you. Mm-hmm. There ain't no shimmying down the boom to get off this thing.
Now, there is controls on there on the ground, and I was well aware of how to use the controls. However, there was I was not ready to go to the controls and be like, hey, I'm going to move it from down here because you're not. I'm going to override from down here because I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You're up there. You had a last known, right? There was no lights from the ground going off. At one point, you did trip the.
There's some sort of safety wire on the. I think
safety. Yeah, I don't know what it was.
So I think what it's designed to do is you got the control panel in front of you, and then where you would expect a grab bar to be, there's this thin wire that is attached with a magnet.
Yeah.
And I think what the intent is if you get if the bucket gets away from you and you get flung and you go to grab something, your instinct is to grab the little skinny wire in front of you because it's just in the natural grab spot. And when you do that, it breaks away. And then it shuts. It's like an e-stop for the machine.
It's an e-stop with flashing lights on the ground.
It tells you, like, you're not at the operator station like you're supposed to be. And so we have shut it. We've stopped everything instantly.
And alarms are going off.
Yeah.
Not quiet
and
alarms.
Flashing lights.
And flashing lights. And so alarms and flashing lights are going off. And I'm looking up from the ground. And Steve's not any of these things. He's not been flown from a basket. It's not any of this. But he is frustrated. And I thought, I bet he tripped that safety wire.
Well, because I'm using the panel as sort of
as a reference.
Well, no, as sort of a makeshift workbench. I've got the duct tape on there. I've got my wet rag on there. I got my lights on there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have tools on there because there's a bunch of buttons and knobs and stuff I don't want to knock around. But it's kind of nice to have like a little surface that you can just set easy to reach stuff on. And because of that, the little bar was in the way, and so I just swatted it out of the way, and then I've been working up there, and then I'm like, I swatted it out of the way, and I'm like, I'm going to forget to put that thing back up later. You just watch. And then sure enough, I'm doing the thing, and I'm looking frustrated, and from below, he's like, there was a bar, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, and it's a good thing that bees don't respond to alarms or loud noises. Because, man, it is loud. You eventually figure out how to turn some of the alarms off.
No.
They stopped.
They stopped, but I never did anything.
Oh.
And so I think at some point you would do something that the machine didn't like, and it would start yelling at you to stop doing whatever you were doing. But it's so uncommunicative of whatever you did. So it's just stop, shut it down, turn it back on, and then maybe the alarms won't work. So the point is I'm riding around with the thing with earmuffs on because the beeping is on the beeping is not on the machine 40 feet below you. The beeping buzzer is on the control panel.
No, there's one.
There's one down
there too as well.
Yeah. And so it's just this ear-piercing, like 130 decibel beeper
screaming at you
that it's not happy about something. And you're like, oh, well, I don't know what it is because I was doing just fine, like literally 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and there's a slow mode and a fast mode, and
if you're wondering why your cutout costs a lot of money, or why nobody else wants to do it,
or why you should charge more if you're a beekeeper,
because when we reached out to some friends and they laughed, like, that's all you charged, and they're like, should be more, and I'm like, bud, it's we got the job done. And
they were happy. So that's really what matters. At the end of the day, they're happy. They wanted to hire us for other stuff. They said they ran into this all the time. The roofers did. And,
you're building customer base and you'll figure the rest of it will come in time as you get more experience. It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're not going to get rich off of doing this, but it'll help pay for us sitting around talking in a podcast.
What else were you? You were still.
I'm in OA treatment still. I have my last of my OA treatments for all of my rest of my hives. I do oxalic acid vaporized. After that, I'll probably put up northern wind blocks for my Riverview Road apiary one.
I have scheduled with one of my students to do winterizing tomorrow. We were going to do it today, but then video game release, and we're much more interested in not doing that, so we pushed it to tomorrow.
And then I'm feeding, and it has been so warm. We kind of touched on it real lightly, but like yesterday was 70 degrees. It's not at night. It's getting down into like 30s or 50s, but it's been really warm, and it's still going to be warm next week. It's like in mid-50s to 60s.
Yep.
And there's not anything for them to eat, and these are bad temperatures, weirdly, bad temperatures for your bees to be at.
Because they haven't, like, if you're farther north, then they would have consistently clustered.
And stayed clustered.
And then they're not burning resources.
Right. So right now they're eating through resources. I have to feed right now for anything that's light, and they're eating. I don't know how many you saw my feed bags. They're Ziploc bags. I'm basically emptying a Ziploc bag full of 90%.
Well, a
sugar.
gallon Ziploc bag.
Yeah, the gallon Ziploc bag. 90% sugar, 10% protein on a hive, and they're eating about that gallon of bag every 2 weeks right now. Now, ideally, the temperature for honeybees, for their metabolism to be perfect, if you could just set it at 40 and forget it, that would be perfect for them. That's their ideal. We use the least amount of resources, and we sustain. When it gets below that, they start using more resources. When it's above that, they use a lot more resources, which is why now I understand when the guys down south start complaining because, oh my God, I have to feed my bees half the year. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, if their winter is 40 degrees, right?
Right. Oh, and they're bringing in pollen. That's the other weird thing, right?
I did notice a couple of flyers when I was doing the cutout that had bright orange pollen on them.
Yeah, so goldenrod's probably still producing. I saw a dandelion bloom.
And to be clear, there was absolutely no brood in this. There was no eggs. There was no open brood. There was no cap brood. There was nothing to be found in any of the cells other than capped honey.
Right.
No open nectar. Yeah. There was some bee bread.
Yeah, and I saw a couple with pollen.
Yeah.
And usually you're bringing in pollen to feed they're bringing in pollen to feed baby bees.
Yeah.
Because the nurse bees are eating pollen to activate their pharyngeal gland in their head so they can produce royal jelly. But bringing in pollen usually shows, hey, they're good for the year, good for producing. But I think that they're storing that for spring
for a long time.
Yeah. And speaking of fall honey, Kelly and I made honey sticker suckers today, lollipops.
They're the classic lollipop. It's just around $50 sized lollipop.
Yeah, now I will warn you. So I gave Steve a couple. They are our first attempt ever at doing this. They are fall honey because it's
want to do something with it.
Yeah. And so it has a little bit of fall honey taste, but in order to get the, what do they call that, sugar crack, something crack.
Hard crack.
Hard crack level, there's no glucose in honey. And the glucose is what helps it reach that hard crack temperature without burning. So I had to add glucose in some manner to it.
You just add granulated sugar then, or what?
You can add granulated sugar, makes them nice and clear.
I was to say, if you
added high fructose corn syrup to them because that's also
you probably start with that though and liquefy it, and then add the liquid honey to the liquid.
No, you all mix it. You mix it all up in the beginning. It mixes up really nicely.
Really?
And you heat it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the high fructose corn syrup would, but granulated sugar might be a mess.
Yeah. So all of that you just all mix it up and you wait, and then you heat it to get above 300 degrees.
Yeah.
To get to that hard crack point. So anyway, it's
just
our
like
first attempt
like making any hard candy, right? You're a lot of stirring and watching with candy thermometer, and it's super hot.
As soon as it boils, you stop stirring. So I'll try again. I'm a little disappointed in it.
You can go to Amazon and get the little plastic sucker sticks.
Yep, we got silicone little molds for it. Got plastic sucker sticks, and I am a little disappointed in the taste of them. It feels, to me, you'll try it, but to me it tastes a lot like sugar. There's a lot of front sugar, not a lot of honey flavor is retained.
You think that's because it gets so hot it bakes off the volatiles that add to the flavor of the honey?
I think so. I don't know, but I'm going to try again. And they're also really good at removing fillings. So
they're sticky. They're a sticky. Now, not now and later. What are the
taffy? It's not.
No.
It's It's not Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers. Jolly Ranchers were the ones that always stick my teeth together.
Oh, no. Jolly Ranchers, I always like sucked on them for a while. I was aiming for more along Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
And this is stickier than Jolly Ranchers.
I mean, still, it's like an old Jolly Rancher that's been sitting in the bottom of the Halloween thing for like 2 years. You're a green Jolly Rancher. And then you peel it open and it's kind of sticky on the sticker. And you're like, wow, it'll still be good. And then you stick your teeth together and you're like, oh.
Yep, it's more along those lines. And evidently that's fixed by adding granulated sugar to it. But I think you're just going to lose the honey flavor. We'll see. I've got, I think I still have 1,000 pounds of honey to mess with. So I'll probably.
I wonder if you got the honey, or you got the, if you granulated sugar and got that hot, and then toward the end you add the honey, so the honey doesn't cook the entire time.
Well, you got to remove the water content from the honey too.
Right? I mean, did you put that on a refractometer? What is it?
The honey that I used is, I didn't refractometer it. It is pretty. It's been in the house. It's not crystallized. It's been in the cabinet, and it is very, very slow to move. It is molassesy in its amount of movement.
That means it would be pretty low on
you would think
16% or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's stuff to do with it. The honey lemonade that I make is one of my favorite drinks out there. We're working on, I work with Blackbeard Canning. He's working on a hot honey lemonade, which I think will be interesting.
Speaking of the hot honey, I bought some. We should tell the listeners how your fall festival craft show that happened across the street from my house.
Yeah, that didn't go so well.
No.
Yeah, it was not. You came and visited. That was
I did.
Good. That
I
was
did.
Good.
And I took the opportunity to buy a hot honey off you because I hadn't previously acquired one.
Yeah.
And we took it home. So how not great sales there?
Not great sales. It didn't have the foot traffic. We were invited to Kringle Mart next year. So Kringle Mart is across from the old Keller Station thing up on the heights.
Yeah.
Huge, hundreds of people there.
As opposed to the 50 or 60 people that were in.
I got about 50 people that walked through. Still sold around $300 worth of honey.
But that's still a lot of standing around for $300.
It was a lot of standing around for $300.
So I picked up a hot honey.
Yeah.
We took it home.
You got the peach mango?
Oh, I got the peach mango, which you said was the more mild of it.
Yeah.
We did a finger taste test.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how runny it is. It is surprisingly less viscous than the typical honey that comes out of a squeeze container.
Yeah.
So I got a pretty good daub of material on the finger. Nice and sweet. And it's got some heat. It's boom. It's going to hit you with some heat. Julie smells it, and she's like, I'm like, just a little bit. So she takes. I'm like, but careful, it's runny. So she's more on the nose about not getting a ton, and so she takes about an eraser tip.
Yeah,
and she notes that that's very spicy.
Yeah. It's real spicy.
So, the version...
Was that the mango one, or you did the Scorch Road?
No, that was the mango one.
Oh, yeah. The Scorch Road's hotter than that.
Yeah. So, that's not going to fly with almost everybody that I have over to the house for regular gaming sessions. Apparently, I've got some pretty white boy... the crew that's typically around tends toward...
Midwest flavoring?
Very much so.
It's really good on pizza. The pizza... Well, first of all, it's hot on the lower levels. It's not one that kills you. Like the honey... Because I've also had the peach mango hot sauce and the Scorched Road hot sauce. And those are another level higher in heat.
I'm looking forward to having it on my chicken strips.
Yeah, chicken strips would be great.
Yeah.
Pizza, excellent. And I use just on grilled chicken.
It's not going to be a biscuit honey.
It is not. You do not put that on a biscuit.
It's not going to be a tea honey.
No, unless you have COVID and you need to breathe or something like that. You can't really taste the heat off of it. It is specific, very specific use. But I really like it. I use it, even though it's my honey, and right, I still buy some regularly and use it.
Real quick in the news, I think you were reading about a recent study that's been published about viruses and how they're impacting our queens.
Yeah.
And we kind of all thought that our queens, the old classic, the reason why we have 5 colors to our queens is because you could have a queen stick around for 5 years, and that seems to be all history now. Where
I mean, my oldest queen so far, I think, has been a little bit over 3 years, and I kicked myself for not replacing her.
Yeah,
because
now it's 1 to 2 years. I think everybody who's doing the best is really putting a new queen in almost every year.
Yeah, 2 years is probably about normal.
And so I guess the study was focusing on that, and we found that
so viral load, which this all makes sense, right? Viral load causes impact on queens. It shortens their lifespan, but it's the hive, and I was just telling people this. It's the hive that actually kind of decides, hey, she's done. We're moving on. We're getting somebody else. We're raising a new queen. And there's a methyl oleate that queens produce when they're healthy, and that methyl oleate is not produced in high enough amounts to show the health of the queen for the hive, so they replace her. So thus they're living shorter amounts of time when they get sick from viruses. And we've already talked early in the podcast how many viruses bees have right now.
We're really getting pushed hard on our virus front from our mite loads and stuff like that. That's really impacting. The secondary carryover effect is really the virus issue. So
right.
In the overall health of the hive, and then
so it was McAfee, and I can't remember her first name, Dr. McAfee. She writes for the American Bee Journal. It was her paper. I'm a big fan of hers. I never met her, but I'm a big fan of her writing, and she usually writes some really well thought out, well considered articles for ABJ. So when I found out she had an article, I was like, oh, this will be good. So that's your end of news portion. Keep your queens healthy, which would mean keep your virus load low, which means keep your varroa mite counts under control.
I think for our 2026 goals, I think we're going to touch on what events you're doing next year. It sounds like you're not going to be physically attending Bee Expo. It sounds like you are going to be doing the Indiana Queen Rearing Association.
Yeah, so the Indiana Queen Rearing Association, I took that class at Purdue for queen rearing for a couple of reasons. Steve and I teach a class in queen rearing, and I wanted to see what our price point was, which we found out was low. Steve didn't get paid for it. I didn't really get paid for it either, as far as making money on it for our time. And so we charged $50 for, and it was, you got equipment for it, you got a frame, holder, you got
Easy Beezy cells. There was a bunch of good equipment
that you got.
Basically, the idea was if you took our class, you would walk away with it with everything you need to walk back into your apiary and immediately start grafting. So all the tools, Easy Beezy cells, and then what you learned at school, what in the class in terms of both hands-on, physical grafting, and then a lot more about raising queens in the background and how you get a build-a-cell builder, all those things.
Yep.
And
so I went to Purdue, and in the Purdue one, you get the hands-on, and you get the how to raise stuff and how to graft, and then you get a pat in the back and told you we'll see you later. So, and that was $200 compared, and we were charging $50.
Yep.
So we probably need to, if we're going to offer it again, I haven't told Steve yet, but it's on the website. You can assign.
No, you mentioned it.
That?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So the price is raised on there. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it is I think
it's much more in line with the 200 than
right.
50.
And so we also provided lunch in there too, which was pizza that Mom made. But anyway, we'll have that class next year, and as part of that, I got as part of me taking the Purdue class, I got invited to go to the Indiana queen rearing portion. So I'll be going to that next year to rear queens and hopefully to get some interesting genetics because they're really proud of their genetics in that group. It's a great group. I'm really interested in getting that promoted more or something like that for Illinois. I know that I don't think Tom Pankonen listens, but if he does, he's the guy that's in charge of the...
Yeah, we talked at in our October meeting, I think, for the Bee Club. He was there, and we spent some time talking about logistics for the Illinois Queen Initiative.
Yeah, how do you get it supported? How they do the costing? How do they make money for it? Right, because things cost money.
Were we going to work together on getting that sort of relaunched and much more active in the Central Illinois region?
Yeah, get some legs under it.
Moving forward in 2026. I think wrapping up a Honeybee Hotline where we take questions from various places. I think the major thing we're going to talk about today is we'll touch on some of the challenges. You had a request for 2026 for an observation hive.
Yeah,
and
so
we've
as a school,
have some experience with this. When we initially worked with the location that provides, it's Wildlife Prairie Park. They provide the club with a location to keep club hives at, and somebody had donated a fairly elaborate observation hive.
Yeah,
and so we have some experience working with that. That has never been a positive experience. It's always been a very demanding piece of equipment to try to support throughout the season. It was only used seasonally, so a fresh...
It was on a pivot point, and it held six frames?
Could be 5 to 6 frames vertically.
6 frames vertically. It was
single
frames area that had the exit on the outside of a garden, like a flower garden.
Butterfly house.
Yeah.
So it's an enclosed, 360-degree closed dome, screened dome.
Right.
And so the
exit was on the outside, like away from. So they never were bothersome. The honeybees were never.
So, yeah, it's completely glass on both sides,
yeah.
And then you could pivot it to look at both sides of the hive. And it always took a surprising amount of maintenance to keep the hive sustained.
Yes.
Because we always felt temperature control was always a challenge,
especially in winter here.
It was typically we'd put a nuke in there in the spring, and then we'd pull it out, or it just wouldn't make it past fall.
Right.
And so thinking of that, and we have acquired a couple of different styles of observation hives that you have either here at the property or...
I have two. I have a 5-frame with a single frame that goes above it, which handles a nuke really nicely, but they really don't like moving into that frame above the 5-frame nuke. And I have a vertical, like 4-frame with a medium hive that I got from somebody that's broken.
Needs some work.
Needs some work. So those are the two ones that I have right now, and that one I've never used. It had broken plexiglass on it, and I haven't fixed the plexiglass. And it was
again, there's maintenance. The surprising amount, like if you thought beekeeping woodenware was a maintenance headache for paint and rot and stuff like that, an observation hive is another order of magnitude more difficult, associated with
very finicky
having to deal with that. We're not looking at the hexagonal
wall attachments
thing that made the rounds through social media 3 or 4 years ago during COVID.
I think that company went bankrupt.
With the most frequent, if you mention observation hive, the most frequent thing that gets brought up from random people that aren't in the beekeeping world is that system, and it's not a system that is sustainable. We found sustainable. Granted, I don't have any personal experience with it, but it's my understanding from the community.
I managed one, and it would swarm after like every month. It would throw a swarm.
just the volume and stuff like that. And plus, I don't know how you would ever effectively work that, because as soon as you open it, it's inside the house, and now you got bees inside the house, and that's going to be a challenge. So I think if we're going to pull this off for the school, we were brainstorming some ideas. It's probably going to be a vertical with maybe a window on one side that faces a window of the school, and that way the entire structure's outside, and
we could put the entrance. It'd have to have the entrance not near the window, or have the entrance of the school and having the, because they want to put it inside of a building.
I don't know if that's really going to be logistically the best option.
I don't think so either.
I think setting the whole thing outside,
it'll protect it from the weather, though.
I think with enough thought in the construction process on the front end, if this is custom built with some insulation in mind, a back panel that swings open to work it, and a front fixed glass panel that faces another window.
Yeah.
They can do everything that they want to do. They can see the bees doing their thing, and it still allows a beekeeper to come in on a semi-weekly basis.
Well, not everything they want to do, right? They still would like for this to create honey. And we talked about that. It's just not. That's not what an observation hive does.
That's those two goals are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, you could, like in my head, right? You could make a giant wall of comb that you could have dividers in to open up different sections. So it's probably like if you had infinite money and wanted to make like a wall.
I mean, it's the engineering world, man. Like anything's possible with enough budget, right?
Yeah, we could 100% do it, but not with the budget they want. And to give you an idea, I looked up observation hives. The well-made ones that we're talking about that are like 6 feet tall are around $900, $845 or so. No shipping. It's just, hey, here's the hive.
Like $200 to probably get it to you or something.
Right, and that doesn't count the bees that you're supposed to put in there, which again, right, I'm installing a nuke.
Another $150 for a package or something. Yeah, well, $135 for a nuke. Yeah.
Right, so it's $200 for a nuke. So you're talking about $1,000 installation for something that is only educational, and you are not going to get honey from. Not counting my time. Like that's me volunteering.
That's 100%. Yeah, that's 100% material cost.
Right. So there is quite a bit to put together for this.
I think in that respect, right, like the best option is to have the observation hive for the kids to learn and the kids to watch what's going on in the hive to get them a better idea of what's going on in the hive, and then just off of the side.
Yeah,
a regular 10-frame Langstroth that has honey super sitting on it, and the lesson can be, the bees are doing everything they're doing in that window over there in that box, except the box contains 6 times the space, 10 times whatever the math works out to math.
Sure.
And that allows them to store resources and have a population that's significant enough to gather honey. And it's a great time to do all the educational things, right? The 1/12 of a teaspoon, 10,000 flights to make a pound of honey, or all those fun
miles.
Yeah, all those fun statistics that are great to talk about, like
2 million flowers.
Yeah, like you're not going to get that out of what you're seeing here because there's a volume, there's a population problem, not problem, but reality that the one is not the other.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is an interesting ask. This is the first time I've been actually asked by a school to do this. So I'll keep you updated on that. Their negotiations are
I think I
haven't quoted them yet either.
We have some other construction projects. I think in the upcoming episodes for this winter, 2026 winter, we'll certainly be talking about some of our construction projects. We're going to build some solar wax melters. We're going to build some, in my head, they're sort of large-sized sawhorses that you can deploy in your yard to set your nukes on for building, splits and package arrivals and things like that. And that allows you to...
Something that you could take down too? That'd be probably pretty good.
Yeah, something that allows you to work hives at at standing height.
Yeah.
And then move them around. Once you've had your people
this
come
sounds
and
an awful like sawhorses.
Oh, yeah, basically. But the whole thing is like two sawhorses don't fit within a foot of each other real well because of how they're designed. So this is one design that's intended for this specific purpose.
Yeah.
And, so I think we're going to have some of those projects coming up in the winter of 2026. I appreciate everybody listening to this point in the podcast. And remember, every beekeeper needs a buddy. We hope you found one of yours right here.